guys. Hey, today we're going to try something different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you guys how to oil paint. Okay, oil painting is going to be different styles and everything else, but the style I'm going to try to teach you is called what Bob Ross would refer to as wet on wet, or it's actually called alla prima, which is the Italian version of the Bob Ross style. Okay, basically we have an 18 by 24 canvas. It's currently dry, but to do the alla prima technique, we have to have the canvas wet. So to do that, we need to apply some things to it and everything else to make it work. Okay, but before we do that, let me kind of show you the tools I'm using. All right. So again, 18 by 24 canvas. That's dry right now. We have a 2-inch blender brush. This is really soft bristles. It helps with the blending of the paints on the canvas. A couple 2-inch brushes. A couple 1-inch brushes. A foliage brush. A script liner brush. It's real thin for fine details. Have a couple fan brushes. And I have a number 10 and number 5 palette knives. Okay, this is all we're going to be using to paint. Let me show you my palette as we are talking here. So here are the paints we're using. I may use all of them. I may only use some of them. But right now we have titanium white. We have Prussian blue, phthalo blue. We have black. We have Van Dyke brown. We have dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green. We have red. We have yellow ochre, and we have cadmium yellow. So these are going to be the paints I use. Like I said, I may use all of them, may use some of them. It just depends on what we're going to be painting. Okay. I also have off to the side, we have a container full of odorless paint thinner, and in the bottom of there's like a wire rack that you can go ahead and scrub your brush on so it's nice and clean. And then once you're done cleaning your brush, we have this little contraption in here. It's just a garbage can with what they call a beater rack. And this will allow you to take your brush, clean it off so it's nice and dry, because you don't want to take the wet brush back on here because it's going to make the paints too thin. It's going to start running and mess everything up. Okay? So to start with, we need to condition the canvas. Okay, basically we're going to just take a type of thin white paint, oil paint of course, and we're going to just kind of brush this on. Okay, it just needs a thin coat because all we have to do is just try to make it wet. Okay, we want to do this so that other paints will slide across the canvas. If it turns out the canvas is not wet with this, what tends to happen is the canvas will actually absorb all your paint, and it's just very hard to allow the colors to mix. So if you put this on first, it will allow the paints to more easily mix together. Okay, so we just want to go ahead and put this everywhere. Make sure everything's covered. I go in different directions, so that way you know you have a good coat. Make sure you have everything covered. Okay, if you don't, your final painting, you'll notice where the dry parts were, but the paint won't mix as well. Okay, again, just doing different directions here. So we make sure we have a good, thin, even coat. If it turns out you get like a little hair from your paintbrush on there, just take the corner of it and just flick it away. That's all. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm just now cleaning my brush. Instead of me pulling the bucket over and showing you how I'm cleaning it, I'm going to just clean it over here on the table. I'm going to shake off the excess. And now we have our dry brush again. And to show you that this is wet, you can go ahead and touch in a couple spots and you'll see how your finger turns white. That's because of the white paint you already have on there. Okay, so let's get started. For the sky, we're going to go ahead and, of course, use some blue. We're going to go ahead and use a little bit of the phthalo blue, only a little tiny bit of phthalo blue. I'm going to mix in a little bit of black with that. And all I'm just doing here is just tapping it in, okay? Both sides of the brush, I'm just tapping it in. Now let's add a little bit of phthalo blue also. We're just trying to get a nice blue color sky, okay? We want to tap it in. We want to make sure that when you look at the bristles, they're all evenly distributed, okay? And then what you do, you come up here and start in the corner and just do small crisscrosses, okay? Nice and small crisscrosses. My easel keeps rocking on me. Okay. Once you have it done, go back and forth. Make long, light strokes, okay? This is going to take out all your brush strokes. And make sure it's all nice and smooth. I want to try to keep this painting to under 20 minutes. So we're going to just kind of rush through this a little bit. Okay? So you see how there's a little bit some light spots in here and everything? That's okay, we're going to go through and put clouds and everything. So we can go ahead and have it, that's fine. Okay, the one thing I wanted to tell you too is if you start up in the corners, you see how my corners are darker than what the middle is? And it's also dark or lighter as you work your way down. As you work your way down the canvas and closer to the horizon, it's going to naturally get lighter. Okay? So if you start at the top and work your way down, it does that for you already. Okay? I'm just going back into those same couple colors. Again, just tapping the bristles. I think what we're going to do is we might have some water too. Okay? So if we decide to put some water in, you want to start at the bottom because again, this is closer to you, so it's going to be darker and it's going to be lighter at the horizon. So start down low and do long horizontal strokes. Start from the outside, work your way in. Okay? Same thing the other side. Again, just tapping, getting some different colors on there. Blues, a little bit of black. Start from the outside, come in. And again, long strokes to kind of just blend it all together. And just like that, we have our sky and our ground so far. Okay? This is where you could, if you want to use your blender brush, you can go through and make long strokes with it. And again, it'll just blend it all nice together. Okay. So now I want to go through, I want to add a couple clouds. So for the clouds, I'm just using a little bit of white. And maybe, hang on, maybe just a little touch of red. Okay. The red's going to warm it up a little bit without overkilling it. So I want this brush loaded, this is my fan brush loaded with this paint. Now in the corner, using just the corner of the brush, I'm going to make little tiny circles. Just make little tiny circles and like pushing the cloud in. And the thing with clouds, there's no right way or wrong way of doing them, okay? Maybe I have one more right here. Okay, so there's a couple clouds. What I'm going to do, instead of washing this brush I just used, I'm going to just kind of beat the paint off. And I'm going to use just the corner of the brush, I'm going to blend the bottom of the cloud. Okay? I don't want to touch the top of the cloud, just the bottom of the cloud. So I'm just make these little tiny circles and just do the bottoms of the clouds. Same thing over here, just the corner and only the bottom. Okay, brush or clean my brush off one more time. And now with long strokes, I'm going to try to make the cloud look light and fluffy. Okay, I'm just making these big C movements. Once you do that, to go ahead and blend it all back in. Nice, even, long strokes like this. Okay, when you do that, that kind of pushes the clouds back into the painting. Okay. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and add clouds that are closer, you can go ahead and do that again. Again, using your white. Maybe this time add maybe a little tiny bit of black. And maybe some red. And all we're going to try to do this time is just make it a little bit darker so they stand out more. Okay? Let's say we got one that lives right here. And while we're let's do one for the other side too. Okay. Maybe it comes down right like this. Okay. I'm just using one of my clean brushes. Start in the corner, wind it up. Again, leaving the top alone, okay? Over here, same thing. Just the corner. And then again, we can make long circles, barely touching the canvas. Okay, and just like that, we have our clouds. Okay. Now let me show you guys how to do a mountain. Mountains are very easy to do. Okay, this is where we use our knife. Let's take some dark colors. We need some, I'll just clean off the palette a little bit here. Take some of that. Those are our blues or black. Let's do some brown, a little bit of red. Okay, and basically what we're trying to do here is just make a dark base color. Okay, when you're mixing the colors like this, when you're putting it down, scrape it back off, turn it over, and mix it again. Okay. This is that same dirty brush we used to do the clouds. I don't want to do that yet. Okay. When you're doing the mountain, sorry about that, guys. When you're doing the mountain, pull the paint flat like this, okay? And with the edge of the knife, cut across the paint. You'll have a little roll of paint around the edge of that knife, okay? Now we need to decide where this mountain is going to go. Let's say right there. Maybe another one right there. And this mountain maybe comes maybe like that. Okay. All I'm doing here is just scraping off all the excess paint. Okay, because what we're looking for is this top part. We want the top part to be nice and defined. Just scrape off the excess. Okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take that brush we used for the sky, and we're going to start pulling this paint down. Okay, we need to try to think of directions and angles. Okay, So we can go ahead and start pulling this paint down. Again, we want the top to be nice and straight, or nice and clean rather. Right now it doesn't matter which way you pull it, you're just trying to look for your angles. And with it still being wet like this, you can see how you can pull the mountains this direction. And then let's say you're like, well, you know what, how would it look if I do this? You can pull that direction, okay? So just keep the top nice and clean. And then as you come down, you want it to fade away. So you want this bottom part nice and misty. Okay? Okay, so now let's go ahead and think about our light and dark. Okay, let me wipe off my knife. I just have a paper towel over here. I'm just wiping the knife off with, so it's nice and clean. Okay, so for our mountain, you know, we're going to say the sun's hitting this side. So on this side of the mountain, on all the peaks and everything else, we need to have the highlights. Okay, so if you go ahead, we're going to just go ahead and use this white and pink. Maybe we'll add a little bit of the blue. This blue is very powerful, so it's going to color it quickly. Okay, now for this, you can go ahead and have a marble like that. Over here, we just kind of mix it all together. If you leave it marbled, it will actually add some neat effects to your mountain. So go ahead and pull it out flat. Cut across, you have a nice roll of paint. And very lightly, let the knife touch the canvas and just bounce off of it. Okay, so we're going to say right there, comes down. Another one right there. And just let it bounce. Maybe this one here comes this way. Again, very little pressure when you're doing this. Okay, very little pressure. Maybe a little bit right there. And let's say this one back here, maybe this one is behind the other mountains. So maybe we'll just put a little tiny bit right there on the edge. Okay? So this is going to be our side that has all of our light coming from it. Okay, you can kind of bounce it around and make it do funny things and stuff. Okay, so now for the other side, I'm going to go ahead and take this white, make it a little bit darker. I'm going to add some of the blue to it. Okay, so now we have the white, but it's also being colored by the blue. Okay, maybe we can do a little bit of the black too. If I add a little bit of black to it, it will make it look more like rocks and shadows. Okay, so we want it kind of dark. We want a marble like that. We don't want it mixed very well. Okay. Pull it out flat, make your little cut across. Now let's say this comes this way. And this one comes over here, the shadow's on that side. Another one. We said this is going to be in front of this mountain back here, so we'll come over here and we'll make the shadow right in front. Okay? You guys see how once we did that, that mountain got pushed back? A little more work with these colors going back and forth from shadow to light. Okay. Let's say I want to go ahead and add more. Say I want to go ahead and add more snow to the one side where the sun's hitting it. So we can go ahead and do that. We can go ahead and pull it out, cut it off, and maybe go ahead and add a little more paint down here, maybe a little bit right there. Okay. So painting mountains isn't that hard. All right. Remember, if you want to learn how to paint, you're not going to know until you try it. Okay? So, once you have the formation of the mountains, what you want to try to do now is keep this all nice and misty. Okay, so we're going to just kind of tap the bottom of this. Follow the angle still, okay? On this side, we're going to go ahead and do it this way. Because we want this area to be nice and misty, so it kind of almost disappears. Okay. Once you do that, very gently lift it up and follow the lines of the mountains. Okay. And again, like I said, it doesn't really matter what's going on down here. Just make sure it's misty. Okay. So let's go ahead and say now we want to go ahead and do maybe some rolling hills here. Okay, for the rolling hills, let's go ahead and let's see, we're going to go ahead and use that same mountain color we used. Maybe use some of the alizarin crimson, and maybe a little tiny bit of the blue. Okay. Again, all I'm just trying to do is make some colors. I'm going to try to avoid green for right now because let me get a little bit of white too. We need to make the back mountain, these back rolling hills, we need to try to keep them light because as they come forward, they need to get darker. So we're going to go ahead and do a couple different types of hills. We're going to want to go ahead and have different colors. So let's go ahead and just tap the brush again, and maybe we can say right here. Okay, doesn't look like much, but if you just tap this, now, if you want to make it look like pine trees way in the distance, you can take your fan brush and just very lightly, straight up, you can make little tiny pine trees way off in the distance. Okay? Once you start doing this, if you have more time, you can go through and get really creative and put all kinds of different layers in here and everything. But like I said, I'm trying to keep this to within 30 minutes, so we'll see how we do. Okay, so now let's say I want another layer. I want to be in front of this again. Okay, I want to use those same colors again, but this time I need it darker though. So need more blue, need more of the black. Let's even add some of the browns. Okay, there's really no right or wrong way of doing this. I just need a darker color this time. Okay, so here's my color. Let's see if that shows up. Now let's say this one's going to come like this. More paint. I'm not too concerned with this. I might have a tree here, probably have a tree over here too. So over here we just need to tap. So see how it looks like you got two different layers of trees here? Now the fan brush again, go ahead and if you want to make some trees, you could. You don't have to. Okay. Let's see. How about we... Here, we'll do this. We'll do one more layer. Again, I'm going to just use the browns, the reds, a little bit of the blues, maybe do some of the greens this time. Because now with them getting closer, we might be able to pick up some trees. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and load my brush again. And then maybe we'll say this hill comes down maybe like this. Okay. Another thing I mentioned about back here about having some mist. You also want to keep mist between the two colors too. That's why I'm kind of like coming down here low, so you see a little bit of this light color shining through. Okay. So now what we're going to do is maybe we'll have a little bit of yellow thrown in there too, so we can kind of see some different variations to the hill. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and actually do some pine trees. Okay, pine trees are easy to do too. We're going to use that same color. But to make it stand out, we need to darken it up a little bit. So we'll add some brown, a little more crimson. You know what? I'm not sure if I like that color too much. Let me clean my palette off real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and, I didn't like it. I'm gonna scrape it off to the side. Maybe we'll use it later. Okay, but we will go ahead and let me wash my brush too. It's been a while since we washed the brush. This is my fan brush. It's not as fun to wash as the big one because you really can't make a lot of noise with it. Okay, so for these pine trees, let's go ahead and use our browns, some black, maybe some of our green. Okay, so let's say maybe right here we have a pine tree. So we're going to start by just drawing a line down. Okay. Now when you do this, you want to make sure you have a lot of paint. And I'm running out of paint already. A lot of paint on your brush. And just with the corner of your brush, push up. Move down, push up. And as you work your way down, you're going to go ahead and use more of the bristles of the brush. Okay? More paint. And we'll go ahead and have it come down and stop right about there. Okay. Let's go ahead and do one more. Maybe this one's going to be right here. It's going to be a tall one. Again, with the corner of the brush, we're just pushing up. Okay, and as you're pushing up, those branches are coming out of the tree. I'm sorry, coming out of the brush. And then down here, where it's going to be just dark color anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. And you know what? Let's do another one on the other side too. Actually, not yet. I got those two down. Let me show you how to do water real quick because I'm running out of time. Okay. Take a good clean brush, and let's say we want this to be water, and we want the reflections. Okay. All we do is just take the brush and pull straight down. And if you look, as you're doing this, looks like reflections. Okay, so I'm going to just walk that paint off, and now when you go back across it, real gently, see how neat that looks? Looks like reflections from the land down in the water already. Okay. So just like that, you have your water and you have reflections, okay? Now let's say we want to go ahead and add some land, because we have to have something for the trees underneath to sit on. So we want to go ahead and add some land to it. I'm trying to see how much time I have left. I only got like 4 minutes left. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pull the white out very thin again. Cut across it. But this time, cut across going up. Get that little roll of paint. And when you do that, if you do horizontal lines now, you can make it look like you have water lines. Okay. If we wanted to put some land in there, I should have done the land before I did the water line. We just need some dark colors, and this time we need to kind of just drag it in. And by doing this, you kind of help with the slope of the land. Okay, you guys see how that's going in? Okay, we need to add highlights to that, so you can go ahead and take a little bit of the white. I'm just using some colors I already have mixed up here, and I'm going to just try to leave it marbled. Okay, I'm going to cut across it, then we'll come back over here, and then we'll put highlights on the stone. Barely touching the canvas. Okay, barely touching the canvas. But you can at least see where there's going to be some highlights on there. Okay, now since we did that, and I went ahead and did my waterline and everything else beforehand, which I shouldn't have done that. I'm going to take my brush that I used for that last green color, and maybe with some red, some of the yellows. What I'm going to try to do is kind of have it coming down over top of some of these rocks a little bit. And so it looks like that the actual green grass is growing over top of the rock. Okay, so it kind of helps you break everything up. You don't want just these rocks sitting here, so you want to go ahead and possibly have some of these green plants, some grasses over top of it. Okay, and since I didn't do the water line right, we're gonna go ahead and do it again. Little roll of paint on the top of it, right underneath there. Make your horizontal lines. Okay, you want to make sure these stay horizontal, because if not, your paint is going to look like the water's running out of it. Okay. One more time. Make sure I didn't miss anything. You can even add a couple of horizontal stripes in the water so that it looks like ripple marks. All right. Something else I want to do right now is I need to add highlights to the pine trees. Okay, we've got them all nice and dark, but now we need to go through and add the highlights. So for the highlights, I'm going to have some of my yellow mixed with a little bit of the green, but you don't want to do a lot of this, because this is going to actually kill the darkness. Okay, so if you just kind of add a little bit more green to that, maybe some red too. I said it doesn't have to be every branch, but you kind of want to be able to see highlights in there. Okay, so we did it for that one. We need to do it for the other one. And since the sun's coming from this way, you want more highlights on this side of the tree than this side of the tree. Okay, maybe with the same dirty fan brush I'm going to get a little bit of the yellow, a little bit of the white so it lightens it up a little bit. And just from pushing up on the branch, on the brush, I can make it look like there's all kinds of little like plants and shrubs growing down here. Okay. So these are things, if you have more time, you can go through and kind of play around with it. Okay. Now, the other side, like I said, I'm really running out of time on this, but for the other side, I'll show you how to do a different type of tree. I'm going to use my 2-inch brush this time. And again, I want to use just dark colors. Okay, I just need really dark colors. I'm going to load it up. And this time, I'm just go ahead and push up. As I'm coming down, I'm going to just push harder, bend the bristles more, and just keep coming down. Okay? More paint. Now, if you see, I'm coming all the way down here into the water, which is fine. Because right now, I just want to try to get the base color in. And then maybe down here we'll have some land. Okay. We'll just tap it in, doesn't really matter. Okay. Now what you could do is go back to your brush. This is that nasty green one where you have all these colors and everything on. Now if you go ahead and pull this straight through one direction, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have a curve to your paintbrush. You guys see that curve? And with that curve, the curve going up, now if you go ahead and touch it again and push up, you can come back and add your highlights. Okay, you want to try to think about trees and how they grow. Okay. And then down here again, we can just add some different layers of hills. Okay. With our little liner brush, what I want to do is get some paint thinner, and I want to put it in our dark paints here. Okay. We just need to make sure this paint's thinner so it sticks to that. So I'm going to just go ahead and maybe do some tree trunks. And this is just, you know, wiggling the bristles back and forth so we can just see some trunks. Okay? Maybe down here it's a lot thicker and kind of comes out. If you had time, you could do a whole bunch of these. And again, we're just trying to make it look natural. Maybe another one right here. Maybe this one's not as strong. It's okay to have the branches crisscross because in nature they do. Okay. Now the last thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and use my foliage brush, and I'm going to add some color to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do some of my yellows, my reds, my greens, and I want to just kind of have it all mixed up. Okay. Add a little bit of white. Now what I can do is go back over this and just kind of like plop more color onto it. But you should start thinking about the branches, where they're at, what are the colors and everything else, where are the leaves. Okay. A little bit more right here. And then I don't know, maybe down here around the foot of the tree, maybe we can go ahead and do some more little brushy little things. With a 1-inch brush, using those same colors, maybe add a little bit of the green to it. I'm just kind of mixing them together. Maybe we'll go ahead and say one more little thing like this. We can use our liner brush. Make sure the paint's thin though. And we'll use more of the brown color. And maybe little sticks here and there. I might even have one that sticks out. Okay. Just trying to add more detail to it. Okay. And then you also want to go back and just kind of cover it up so it all blends in. And with your knife you can go through and scratch in some things that make look like sticks. And I know I went over my time, but I think we're good, and we're going to go ahead and sign this one. Okay, so again, I'm just using red and some paint thinner. Actually, a lot of paint thinner because red is too thick right now. So I'll go ahead and turn my brushes nice and pointy, and I'll go ahead and sign it. And there you go, guys. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to try painting, I hope you take it up. It's a fun hobby. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.